All right, welcome. Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a todos. I am John De Leon, a member of Latinos in Architecture, one of several committees in the American Institute of Architects, Houston chapter. Today is a first in several short conversations where we will explore different professions. You might be starting to consider a career path or having to choose a track to focus on as you enter high school. These conversations are an opportunity for you to discover, learn, and ask questions. I hope you had a wonderful lunch and are ready to meet our first speaker for our A Chat with a Professional. We invite you to type in your questions during the presentation and we will discuss them at the end of the presentation. These conversations will be recorded and posted to the AIA Houston YouTube channel. Today we have with us Ivan Alanis. He is a systems engineer currently working at NASA. Ivan, can you tell us about your story in becoming a NASA engineer?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, John. How you doing?
Okay.
Um, so the story of me becoming an engineer, I'll try to make it quick, but just a quick background about myself. I am an Alanis, born and raised here in Houston. I know this is a Houston organization. Um, let's see, first generation. I like to say I was made in Mexico because my parents had just come to the U.S. And, English wasn't even my first language. I struggled a little bit at first in kindergarten. So just to fast forward, I was into math and science, but, really unsure what I wanted to do growing up, when I was older, what career I wanted to go into. Um, I was even part of in high school. I still wasn't sure. I was a senior and I was part of the Medical Explorers Club. I was thinking maybe something in medicine or doctor, radiologist. In the end, I ended up applying to college as an electrical engineer. And I think a lot of that has to do with my dad being an electrical engineer. He was a big influence in my life and motivator, somebody I looked up to coming from Mexico and becoming a professional here in the US. But so yes, I got accepted as an electrical engineer. Even before my first day of class, I knew that wasn't the right path for me. I don't know, I didn't know much about electrical engineering. Like, I just seemed kind of like magic to me. So I changed it did some research, chose chemical engineering as a path. So my first semester, oh, by the way, I went to the University of Houston. So stayed local. I've pretty much lived here my entire life, with the exception of I did study in Mexico for the 6th grade. I went down there for 1 year. So went to U of H, chemical engineering, my first semester. And then I was involved in one of the programs there for minorities. And we visited, I think it was a plastics plant here locally outside of Houston. And I immediately changed my major right after that. It just wasn't the right environment for me. It was at a plant. So yeah, I was trying to figure out what to do. So yeah, I mean, you guys, I hear I'm talking to some middle school kids today. If you're not sure, I mean, that's fine. I wasn't sure even in college. So I ended up choosing a mechanical engineering path. And the reason I chose that was mechanical engineering. It's very diverse, so you can go into different areas of engineering. And I still wasn't sure. I was kind of leaning towards the oil and gas field, just being in Houston, that's big here. So let's see, fast forward my sophomore, junior year, I ended up getting an internship for Lockheed Martin down at the Space Center, the Johnson Space Center. So yeah, I was basically interning, inside of NASA for the name of the team was the they manage tests in vacuum chambers, but let's not get into that. So I did 1 year. I came back a second year, and I like NASA. It was local. It was interesting, and I ended up hiring with a contractor by the name of United Space Alliance. I don't think they're around anymore, but it was a kind of a joint venture between Boeing and Lockheed Martin. So I worked for them for about 5 years as a contractor there for NASA. I did pretty much what I'm doing now. It's systems engineering, it's problem solving, it's optimizing the resources on space station. So I guess I should mention, I've worked my entire career as an engineer on the International Space Station. So I started back in '99. So it was at 21 years working space station. So I did about 4 years with United Space Alliance, doing just various engineering tasks, anything from develop the tool to keep track of stowage, like cargo inside the space station, kept track of cargo going up and down on the space shuttles. And then a few years later, I changed and went to work for Boeing. So I was there about 3 years. So Boeing was very interesting because they are the prime contractor for the space station. And for those that don't know, space station, it's a collaboration, international partnership with, obviously NASA is one of the prime partners. You have the Canadians with their robotic arm experience, the Russians, with the long history in human spaceflight. ESA is a group of countries came together and formed the European Space Agency. So those are in the other one's JAXA, the Japanese aerospace. So that's kind of what I've been doing the last 20 years. Oh, back to Boeing. So I did work there 3 years, primarily doing a lot of flight attitude kind of integration work. So what that is the space station kind of flies like an airplane, but for certain operations, we do have to kind of fly sideways or backwards or pitch up this way or this way. So I was doing a lot of the coordination and integration with all the different engineering subsystem teams, like people doing, thermal and electrical and structures and software and guidance and so on. But one of the cool things at Boeing that I did was I worked in the mission operations, the famous mission control center in Houston. So I was one of the worked in the mission evaluation room. So yeah, I was one of my highlights working at NASA. And then after 3 years there, I was offered a position to work directly for the government, the federal government, as a civil servant for NASA. And I've been there 14 plus years, working, again, systems, engineering, integration, problem solving at the international level, lots of coordination with our international partners. Lots of travel in there. Used to go a lot to Moscow to work with the Russians. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of just my history. John, feel free to stop me, ask any questions. I don't know if there's any out there.
I do have a question for you, Ivan. A little bit getting into, I know you gave a broad overview, but if you can get into detail, like where did you go to elementary, middle school, high school? What was your experience as a Latino getting through there? I know you said that your father was the figure that you looked up to determine your career path.
Yeah, so in terms of my schooling, You know, my primary language at home was Spanish, so we didn't speak any English. You know, my mom barely knew any English, having just moved here. So and you know, my dad, you know, we moved close to his job out in Clear Lake. So that's kind of where I grew up. So the elementary school I went to, there wasn't a lot of Latino kids there. And so I remember in kindergarten, you know, there was just one other Latino kid, Hispanic kid, and he helped me out a lot just because, you know, I knew some English, I guess watching TV and whatnot, but yeah, his name was Joe, so he helped me kind of get through kindergarten. But you know, as a kid, you soak everything up, so the language thing wasn't a problem after that, the first several months. But yeah, so I went to school here locally in Clear Lake, the Clear Creek school system, public school. Um, Middle school, yeah, I went to Webster Intermediate, played football there. And you know, high school, I went to a local school, Clearbrook High School down in Friendswood. Um, yeah, and I guess in high school is where I started taking some of the, you know, the advanced or honors classes, primarily in math. I remember, uh, yeah, it was kind of started getting interested in that. Even though I didn't have engineering in my future, I was just good at it. So that was kind of the direction I went in. Oh, I see a question here. Did you have any mentors on the way? Yeah, so I kind of mentioned my dad. He actually grew up in Mexico, went to school in Mexico, you know, for high school and his university in the city of Monterrey. And you know, he actually graduated first in his class. For some reason could not find a job over there. He came to the US and went to I don't know, one of these employment centers or something. And yeah, he quickly found a job actually, um, for Lockheed Martin. And he worked there for like, I don't know, 14, 15 years. And yeah, he's kind of been my inspiration because, yeah, and he worked for NASA after that. So he had a long career at NASA. He was the head of the electrical system on the space shuttle. So he was a manager for the entire space shuttle electrical subsystem, and then after that worked in on the space station and was also the kind of manager for that system. So yeah,
Awesome.
he definitely was a great inspiration coming from Mexico, you know, a small little town, and then he, you know, coming here to the States, working his way up and having a kind of an important position there
That's great.
at NASA.
Awesome. So, can you give the students some advice on how to become an engineer at NASA?
Uh, you know, advice, you know, it starts with education. Um, you know, it starts where they're at today, you know, middle school. You know, it starts with having a, you know, kind of learning, you know, a learning mindset and having an open mind and be willing to learn, you know, because I'm still learning. You know, I've been, you know, working 20 years, you know, on the space station, but you know, every day, you know, I'm kind of learning new stuff. So you know, that's kind of the big thing is, you know, open mindset, keep learning, keep at it. And you know, if you have a passion or desire, that takes you one way, you know, you should follow that.
What about any good studying practices that you can remember?
You know, I'm probably not the right guy because I was a little bit of a procrastinator,
Uh,
you know, coming up, especially in high school was kind of easy for me, but college, you know, a little more difficult. And you know, I probably, you know, going back, I would definitely do things a little different because, you know, I would sometimes wait, you know, and do pulled a lot of all nighters, in
Yeah,
college, I remember,
I did that.
which, you know, those aren't, it's not the best way to retain
Yeah.
information. So yeah, if
You
you
know,
guys,
I have a funny story. I actually I have a mechanical engineering degree also, but I used to play video games on my computer a lot. So I realized that that was taking up a lot of my time because I had to, do my lab reports and so much. So one day I just decided to delete all my video games on my computer. I know that's a hard thing to do, but video games are very addictive. So anyways, I did that and I never looked back. So I haven't played video games since then. That's funny. Okay.
yeah, I never had the video game addiction, but
That's good.
you know, there was definitely distractions
Yeah.
in college, and I remember my first, it was my freshman year. You know, my grades just were not that great. You know,
Yeah. Mine's too.
and
Yeah.
you know, my
Same happened.
parents kind
Same
of, you know,
thing with me.
yeah, I was having too much fun, and my parents
Yeah.
actually, you know, sat me down, you know, kind of gave me a lecture, and you know, I really had to, you know, decide if college was what I wanted to do, and you know, I got back on track.
That's a
You
very
know,
important point you just made. You know, because I had the same issue. When you get out of high school, your studying habits are not that great, that good. But in engineering, you really had to put a lot of time and dedication to studying. And so you get to a certain point in life was, can I do this? Am I going to pass these classes? And so that's one reason why I kept going to, have my parents be proud of me, for them also, but it was also for me. But if your parents push you to do good, you some in a way that encourages you to stay on track, and that's a great point that you made. I think that's an awesome thing to say.
yeah, it's a bumpy road. You're gonna run into, you know, difficult times. You know, it's not just, you know, linear. There's definitely some hardship there, and I mean, I
Yeah.
retook some classes, you know, back to that semester in, you know, at the university. But you know, you just got to be persistent and
Yeah.
have that desire. And I think that's probably one of the key traits is persistence. Because if you bat it, you know, you'll get there. You'll get to the finish line, and you know, there's new opportunities once you get there.
Did you feel that you had any struggles as a Latino in this growing up, or in school or in profession, or um,
Um,
you're a pretty big guy, so I don't think no one's gonna mess with you.
struggles as a Latino, you know, a little bit, you know, because my schools down in Friendswood and Clear Lake, they were primarily, there wasn't that many Latinos when I was going to school in that area,
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
school.
same here.
So it was, you know, it wasn't too bad. I never felt like discrimination or anything like that. I know one of the things that helped me in college, because like you said, you know, you go to high school, you have your parents there, but you know, in college, you're kind of off, you know, you're on your own, you got to make your own schedule
Yeah,
and whatnot. So you kind of have to become responsible. So one of the things I did was I joined you know, a Latino, a minority group there with other kind of like-minded individuals, and that really helped out, you know, in terms of making friendships and, you know, study partners, and you know, you had, you know, other guys you could go to for help when you needed it. So I think that's important, is to join some of these organizations that are out there.
great, awesome. So your goal right out of college was kind of to go straight to NASA, or you just had that internship, and that's how you decided to go straight to NASA?
You're breaking up there, but I think I got the gist of the question. So coming out of college, man, honestly, I just wanted a job. I was,
Yeah, that same
you
happened
know,
to
I
me.
wanted to make that transition from,
Yeah.
from school. You know, I was in university like
Yeah.
5.5 years, so I was ready. I know a lot of guys want to continue with the masters, but me personally, I had it with the school, and I wanted to get a job and start making some money.
Yeah,
Um,
that's exactly what happened to me. My first interviews with Lockheed, and I got hired on directly with them. Um, and I just took it because that's like, oh, I got a job.
yeah, and I struggled. I didn't have a job for like, I think at least 3 months, three and a
Yeah,
half months after
wow,
graduating.
that's about the
So
same
I
time
was,
frame.
I was, I was looking, and I was sending resumes everywhere, and finally got a call for an interview with United Space Alliance. And what helped me there was my experience with my internships with Lockheed Martin.
Yeah,
So yeah, I just wanted a job, get my foot in somewhere. It wasn't, um, that job, you just need to get your foot in somewhere, and it's not going to be something you're going to do forever. So it wasn't like my dream job, but I went in there, I worked it for about a year and a half, and then I transferred to something a little more interesting.
yeah. Any other advice that you can give to students, you think?
Um, let's see. I was looking at the questions here. So advice, I mean, we touched on it, just, don't quit, just keep at it. It's going to be bumpy sometimes. There's, adversity, but, and as minorities, we may have to, study a little harder or do a little extra, to get there and get our opportunities. But there's opportunities out there. You just have to do your part. Take action. Um, yeah.
Cool. So did you have your mentor was your dad? Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah, my dad early on, he I remember one time in Mexico, one of my uncles owned some buses, and there was some guys, doing some mechanical work on the bus or whatever, and he's, you know, if you want, you don't have to go to school, but you're going to be limited, in terms of your opportunities, and jobs.
Correct. Very correct.
Like these guys, they're doing manual labor, or you can go to school, study, put the work in, and there's just more opportunities out there, more stable jobs with pay, and that's what a college degree gets you. It gets you that stable job, more security, benefits, 401ks, that type thing.
All right.
So
Any more
yeah,
questions? Great. Awesome. Does anyone have any more questions? Linda, you have anything? I guess not.
I do. I put it on the chat. It's like if you had a mentor on your way, it's like growing up, did you have any mentors or teacher that helped you in the process? And then also your process of when you went to school, did you go through via scholarships? Did your parents end up paying for your schooling? I know I'm asking several questions, but it's all these things are of students. Some of them say, well, I just finished high school because I just didn't have the opportunity or was not able to pay for career. So it's just trying to figure out what your process was.
Yeah, so I guess in high school, I always knew I was going to go to college because I had that father figure that had done it before me. He didn't have that. His dad just got a third grade education. But yeah, I just knew in my mind, like, that was the path for me. And in terms of, paying for college, that's a big expense. I stayed local. I stayed up, excuse me, I think, yes.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, Daddy's on a meeting right now.
Is that Nana?
Yeah, I'm gonna need.
Is that your Nana
Yeah.
office?
This is my new office for right now. Sorry about that. That's my my son's doing, I got a first grader in doing virtual classes.
No problem. It's something that everyone experiences, and having to juggle work and your children's lives. So we understand.
Can you let Daddy do his meeting?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Okay,
Great.
so yeah, that's one of the big issues, is how do you go about going to college, paying for college? I stayed at home at the beginning, so that was a huge savings. Me coming, from the Latino culture, you're used to being close to the family and staying at home. So that was normal for me. I have cousins in Mexico, and that's kind of standard, is you kind of just stay at home till you get married. So it wasn't unusual, so that was a big money saver there. And then, I went to U of H, which is a public school. It wasn't, one of these private schools or something like that. The other thing was, so my parents did help me out in the beginning. And then after my first semester in school, I did manage to get a scholarship. I did very well my first semester in one of the Hispanic organizations there. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to pay for most of my schooling the rest of the way.
Excellent. I did. I had financial aid. I applied for that, and I got that all throughout the college career. And I think I did do the Pell Grant. I got a Pell Grant, but it wasn't. I think I was out of debt like 13,000, but that was way back when I got out of school, and I just paid it off. But yeah, school is not cheap nowadays. All right. Well, great. Thanks for joining in, Ivan. It was great listening to your story. Thanks to everyone for joining us in LIA's first fall series, A Chat with a Professional. Please stay tuned for our spring series in April. We will have another set of professionals who are excited to share their stories with us. I wish everyone a safe and a happy holiday. See you next time. Bye-bye.